And if I cough, it's because of my heart medicine, not because of me.
That's all I got here.
Of all the people who should have one, right?
I know, I just took it off.
I haven't yet. We walk around and feel like
Pretty cool.
Wow, good to see you.
Very good to see you as well, sir. How are you? It's a fine day.
Fine day, yeah, very fine.
Social distance back there? How are you? Not Pat, excuse me, would hug you.
oh, nice.
I'll shake your hand here. Okay.
Oh, I told my friends this week in Denver, they're all staying home because they're not going down there. Oh, I did.
You live in Boulder, for gosh sakes. You have to do that stuff.
Believe me, I used to live past the
So
Boulder.
this is how you guys, it's one of our first celebrities.
Yeah. No, it's kind of weird. Okay, there's nothing here. Where's Victor?
Yes, so if I can get you all to speak into notes because I'm recording on Zoom.
Okay.
So Zoom is hooked up there, so when like it's time for Kyle to be relevant associate, I'll hook him up to speak.
We're acting like crazy, Rob.
I'm also determining when I'm here out, and I'm going to speak into the mics.
Okay.
So that, it'll pick up all the cues.
Killed some trees with this one, didn't we?
Yes. Yes. Oh, I'd love some.
It's not every day, and she, the next year that we're kind of taking over the garden, so I have some out of my truck.
Yeah.
So, this will put them over by the garden, over there.
That person, I didn't bring one I asked. I'll have to read it. I got all of them.
Triangle. Yes.
I promise not to
And
read
I was
it.
stuff over there tomorrow, I'm doing some more buying. So that I'm looking for. Excellent. That'll work. Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Hey, I'll take it.
Can't tell her.
Thank you.
Same thing, time costs money.
Right.
Trying to get my 6
Okay.
feet.
Yeah.
Is that 6?
And I'm planning to ground cover over by the, I got a strip done today, the ground cover in already.
I don't care if he gets sick.
Okay. You gotta buy one from Larry.
You get a new employee?
Maybe. Not for a while.
Oh, Tom. Yeah.
Prior to COVID.
I just.
Yeah.
He'll probably get better.
Yeah, he's not gonna be able to make it.
Glasses for me. First few times more than I'm like suffocating up drowning in the ocean.
Yes, I just think it's oh, and flash.
Okay. And I scooted over, trying to do stairs. Since my back was turned to it, that counts as 2 feet, so.
Call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Chief, did you lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gary, would you just lead us in prayer, please?
Father, thank you for this day, for this time together. Thank you for your healing grace. Thank you for for deliverance from this attack that has come upon our land, our city, our country, and our world. Watch over us this evening, protect us all, keep us safe, and give us wisdom to make the right judgments and choices in this meeting. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Yeah, roll call, please.
Counselor Johnson,
Here.
Counselor Foster,
Very here.
Counselor Locke,
Here.
Counselor Segola will not be present this evening. Mayor Becker,
Here.
and a quorum is declared.
Modifications to agenda. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I move to modify the agenda by removing item number 6 under social debt, and to remove item M, receive and approve financial reports. Is that all?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to modify the agenda. Remove 6 in proclamations and communications appointments, and remove M on receive and approve financial reports. Any discussion? Nita?
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Counselor Johnson,
All right.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries for modification to the agenda.
Approval of the consent agenda. Minutes of regular meeting, May 21st, and review and approval of accounts payable.
I move to approve the consent agenda and accounts payable.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda for the minutes of regular meeting, May 21st, 2020. Review and approval of accounts payable. Any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Johnson,
All right.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, proclamations, communications, and appointments. Swear in the new police chief. Officially, second thing. So you have to work twice as hard.
Repeat after me. I, George Neafelder,
I, George Neafelder,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm under the penalty of perjury
or affirm the penalty of perjury
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the state of Colorado,
the state of Colorado,
the city of Monte Vista,
the city of Monte Vista,
and ordinances,
ordinances,
and I will faithfully perform the duties
and faithfully perform the duties
of the new police chief,
of the new police chief,
to which I have been appointed and I am about to enter.
to which I have been appointed and about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Really short. What means like military.
Thank you. Thank you all. First off, I'd like to say thank you to the citizens for allowing me this opportunity. Second of all, to Forrest for having the trust to pick me, and then you guys approved it. So I'm very humbled and honored to be here. A little bit of background on me. I started actually here 25 years ago as a trooper. My first duty assignment was Monte Vista. And I was going to go back to the range, first front range, as soon as I had the first opportunity. Came here and fell in love with this, and I spent almost my entire career in state patrol in the San Luis Valley. So this is just it's an honor to be here. And again, I can't thank you all enough for this opportunity. So thank you.
Don't go too far, you're on
We're gonna, our first official, I guess, act is to swear in Officer Moreno, which is an honor because I was also the director of the academy and had the opportunity to train him in the law enforcement academy. So, welcome, Jonathan. Raise your right hand. I, Jonathan Moreno. I, Jonathan Moreno. Do solemnly swear. Or affirm under the penalty of perjury. Perjury. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. The state of Colorado. The city of Monte Vista Charter. And ordinances. And I will faithfully perform the duties of police officer to which I have been appointed and which I am about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations.
Welcome aboard, man. Thank you.
Okay, for 5 years of service to the city of Monte Vista, Officer Pino, please come on up. Awarded to Officer Pino for your 5 years of service to the city of Monte Vista, awarded this 27th day of April 2020. Congratulations. City of Monte Vista all over, very nice. Thank you. Congrats. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Come on up. What do you say? 35 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Monte Vista. I know when I started here 25 years ago, Trooper, you go in, Irene was always there, always real friendly, always real helpful. It's an honor to be the one to actually give you this. So for 35 years of service, in appreciation of your years of service and dedication, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Speech.
Wow.
Did you get a picture?
You know, I'm short on words, but maybe I'll be here another 35 years. Isn't that enough? Thank you all.
Jenny?
Diana. So Miss Diana Smith is our accounts payable and our utility billing clerk, and as of April 1st, 2020, she had been with us for a year as well. We kind of gave her a little bit of a hard time for starting on the 1st of April. We wanted to make sure that it was really the 1st of April, so I don't think your date will be a date that we soon forget. But Diana's done an amazing job in the year that she's been here and has accomplished a lot. And she really took like a duck to the water with the accounts payable and utility billing, and she came to us with a lot of experience. So we're happy you made it a year, and we look forward to many more. There's your certificate.
You all right? I can get a picture.
He's pointed at us, saying something about trouble causers.
Appointment of community member to represent District 1 for the 1 Cent Citizens Committee.
Okay, so that's why I stayed up here, because this is mine as well. So as you guys know, we're getting ready to start the 1 Cent Committee with the Citizens Academy, and we're still missing an appointment for District 1. As you know, we put out there to receive applications for it a second time, and we haven't received any. So I guess basically your option tonight is there's 3 letters of interest that were submitted from other districts at the previous request. So we can either appoint somebody from that pile, or you guys can leave that spot vacant going forward. It's kind of up to you guys. I would definitely recommend selecting somebody from one of these applicants, just so that we do what we say we're gonna do and have the full committee members that we said we would have when we pass that election. And then on top of that, we also need one of the city council members to volunteer for that committee as well. So that's kind of the two missing pieces that we have from the Citizens Academy. So kind of open that up for discussion. Anybody want to nominate anybody for that? Anybody want to put their foot forward to be on the committee? That'd be really good. Oh, me too.
Nominate Martha.
Well, Martha sent me an email wanting to know if she'd been voluntold, so.
The answer was yes, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I have a question for you. Is there a term for this? Is this just an appointment and that's?
So what we have kind of discussed and think would be really good is for each committee to serve 1-year term. That way we give our citizens an opportunity to maybe see how the trial run goes or the first run goes, or, maybe they'll hear something that they didn't like that they wanted to do. We kind of we want community involvement, and we want to be able to encompass as many people as we possibly can. We feel like if we did a longer term than 1 year, that would kind of maybe not keep interest in the community the way that we're hoping that this will. So we want to kind of keep the term, I think, to a year term. And the people that are on the committee currently, I think we can open it back up that they can reapply. But I definitely think we should reevaluate the committee on a yearly basis.
Well, of the letters that we have put in, I know that I'm thinking the least professional looking one, but but I think that's what draws it to me. It is Jose Zamora. If we're looking for community involvement, I mean, just the way it's written, he is just your basic community citizen person, and I'd like to see more of that involvement. So I nominate him. And I don't know.
Yeah, needs a second, and then you need to vote.
Well, I'll second it.
Before we get all carried away in this, officers that are here, I want to thank you guys for everything you've done through all this. Before you guys take off, you guys disperse pretty quick. But I want to tell you guys, going through this COVID and what you guys have dealt with, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Amen. I second that too.
We need, we'll do like a right ballot on this, or we just pick one and that's it.
So Martha just motioned to,
And
Gary seconded.
I tend to be drawn toward Kathleen's because of the experience of being an engineer and working with traffic engineer for 10 years, and the professional experience there kind of catches my attention on that one. I am charmed by their handwritten.
What was that one? I only saw two.
Was that Kathleen Ellifort?
No, it's a Crater.
I don't know if it's a charm
Yeah.
level as much as it is.
But it's Stephen Bell.
It looks to me like an opportunity to let someone have a little bit of say so and a little bit of voice that maybe has not had that.
I didn't see it. We different approach to yeah, that wasn't in the for some reason. I think there's some discrimination
I assure you that was not the case.
Pick it on you, Gary.
We don't want to go down that road. Oh, no, you're all right. Just don't open it.
I think Gary's peaceful, it's okay.
Yes. He may be, but somebody else may not.
Yeah, with those three, in terms of discussion regarding this last motion, I think I would suggest if we could some way turn this into a vote instead of a motion, so that all three, I didn't even see it. It wasn't in this packet, it was in this one. So in order to do that, we'd have to back out.
Are you withdrawing your second, and can you even do that?
Are you asking
Can you
me
withdraw
for my
a
motion?
We have to, is,
You have to
You have to
We gotta
vote.
vote
We
on it.
already had a motion and a second discussion.
so the discussion on it, so we have to vote. So it can fail. So we have a
Pass or
motion,
fail.
we have a motion and
Y'all
a
got
second
now.
to appoint Jose Zamora. Is there any more discussion? Okay, seeing none. Nita?
Counselor Foster,
I will vote against it.
Counselor Johnson,
Nay.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Nay.
Motion fails 3-1.
Now, if we want to do something different on this one, we do the motion. So we have to- What?
We're gonna do it. I move that we submit all three candidates for a secret vote, secret ballot. Yeah.
Jeff, if you need it, do you want to grab some?
Second that motion.
Been moved and seconded to do a ballot. So we have a motion and a second to
You don't need a motion.
Can we play Jeopardy music in the background?
Sure, go ahead. It's an RGB meeting.
It just shows that you have a sense of humor and we can be related to.
Be related to each other, I'm sure.
There you go.
Hold yours until a little water, which you vote.
Yeah, we have a winner.
So with the ballot votes, we have 3 for Kathleen Krager and 1 for Josh Jose Zamora. So you picked Miss Kathleen Krager.
Good my street, then
I think so.
Washington. I know, she has a gorgeous house.
Whoa, it's too
All
late
the
to
more
campaign.
reason.
We already.
So with that, then we'll go ahead and we'll let Kathleen know that she's been appointed to that. And then just, again, like you said, mark your calendars, June 11th at 6 p.m. here at Council Chambers will be our first night of the Citizens Academy. And again, we want all of the council members to attend the Citizens Academy as well as the One Sit Committee. That way we can all kind of work together going forward with this committee, the sales tax, and the academy. So if you guys, I mean, we don't have to tonight, but if somebody could please be thinking of which one of you wants to serve on that committee. We'll definitely need that once we start budget season. And once we start budget meetings, you'll need to be present with the One Cent committee to go over that budget. Okay? Any questions for me? All right.
Not this time.
Regarding that.
Thank you.
Okay, citizen comments, and special presentation. In order to be included in this portion of the agenda, you have to fill out the appropriate paperwork with the city clerk no later than noon on Monday prior to the meeting. So, Logan and Associates.
You should be on via Zoom.
He is on, and I will go ahead and connect him right now.
We're just gonna watch it off here over there.
Yes. Kyle, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are on.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to present this way. Because of all that's been going on these past few months, I'm learning a new way to attend meetings. So now I have a question. Can you guys see me, or you just hear my audio? Okay. Okay, very good. All right, so I'll get started. Again, my name's Kyle Logan. I'm the owner of Logan and Associates, who is the city's independent audit firm. And I'm here tonight to present the results of the 2019 financial statements. And to start off with, in your packet, you have two documents. You have the financial statements, and then you have what I refer to as the management letter. And so I'll talk about the financial statements first, and then follow up and finish up with the management letter. So basically, our audit process is in two phases. Our first phase, the preliminary work, we do that in December, and that's when we come out and we primarily test internal controls and look at documents, read minutes, pick Jenny's brain of what's been going on over the past year, to just kind of get an idea for what we expect when we come out to do the final field work audit. And so in March, then we came out and did the second phase, did the final field work, and that's where we primarily concentrate on the numbers and all the footnote disclosures and the supporting documents there. And in doing that, you know, we do several different procedures. One is we send confirmations to third parties, for instance, to banks, to make sure that the cash balances that are presented in the accounting system are what's reported by the banks. We confirm revenue sources, you know, primarily sales tax and property taxes and different franchise revenues. And then we do a lot of analytical procedure type stuff where we compare 2019 to 2018, and we, you know, through conversations with city staff, then we are able to basically come to a conclusion on the financial statements. And so in the document, all the numbers in this document, all the footnote disclosures, they are responsibility of the city's management. And our responsibility is to issue an opinion. And so following the table of contents is our independent auditor's report. It's a 2-page report, pages A and B. And the most important paragraph is on page B at the very top, which is titled opinion. And so for the year ended December 31st, 2019, the city received an unmodified opinion. Well, what that means in layman's terms, that means it's a clean opinion. That is the best that you can receive from an independent auditor. What that also tells you as the governing council of the city, that all the financial statement information, all the numbers, all the footnote disclosures in this document are fairly stated and materially correct in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles for a local government entity. So I'll just go over some highlights. I'll kind of lay out how the financial statements flow. And to start off with, there's primarily 3 parts to this document. The first part are the basic financial statements, which starts with the management's discussion and analysis, which is more of a narrative of activities that have occurred over the past year compared to the prior year. And the basic financial statements are from pages 1 through 28, which include pages 1 and 2 are government-wide financial statements. which are presented similar to the way a business would report. Pages 3 through 9 are the fund financial statements. These are what you are used to seeing throughout the year and what primarily the city's finance staff and management use to operate the city and the various funds, activities, and programs. Then following from pages 10 to 28, these are all the footnotes. And so the accounting standards require certain disclosures in writing to support the numbers and some of the more significant numbers in the financial statements. And so that's what is included in the footnotes. Following the footnotes is the required supplementary information, pages 29 to 31. That is primarily your general fund budget compared to actual expenditures. Then ending the third part is the supplementary and other information. And primarily what that is are two schedules that combine all your non-major funds and then all the budgetary comparison schedules for those individual funds. And the last report that's included, the last 2 pages, is the local highway finance report, which is required document to be included by the state. So some highlights on the financials. We have, so on page 1, the statement of net position. And this basically shows the entire assets, liabilities, and equity of the city for all funds. You have 2 columns there. The governmental activities, that's primarily your general fund and all your other capital projects funds, Kids Connection Fund, and different funds there. And then the business type activities, that includes your water and sewer funds. And so this is kind of a summary of and pulls everything together just as if you were a large corporation or a business reporting. And so some highlights there. Your total assets are 19.2 million. Total liabilities are 6.3 million. Your ending equity is approximately 12.8 million. And so of your assets, approximately 3 million is in cash and investments. The biggest portion are your capital assets, and that's primarily all your buildings, your infrastructure, your equipment for all departments and all funds. Your liabilities, approximately 5.7 million of the 6.3 is your long-term debt, and it's almost split evenly between the two types of governmental activities and business type activities. And then your equity. So people always wonder, well, how much money do we have to spend or carry over? And so the first line there of your equity invested in capital assets, that's approximately 9 million. And so that's basically your capital assets listed net of the debt that was issued in order to either build or purchase those capital assets. And then you have several restrictions of about 900,000. And again, that's external third parties for whatever reason. The main one that comes to mind is a Tabor Reserve. And then finally, the unrestricted portion, which is available to carry over into the next year, is approximately 3 million. Okay. So that kind of covers your statement of net position or balance sheet, shows you a snapshot picture as of December 31st, 2019 of your assets, claims on those assets, and the net worth or the equity of the city. Page 2 is a statement of activities, and this is primarily your income statement. And so it shows total expenses for 2019 for all funds, approximately 5.8 million. Program, we have 2 types of revenues, program revenues and general revenues. Program revenues, major ones there are your charges you charge to users of the water and sewer systems, and then different other smaller charges. And those are approximately 3.2 million. your general revenues, which are your taxes, sales taxes, property taxes, those are approximately 3 million. And then you're leaving a net increase or net income overall of about 364,000. And I'm sure throughout the year, as Jennifer has presented information to you all, a lot of that increase is related to the increase in sales tax revenues. The next thing, we start with the fund financial statements. We have page 3. These are all your governmental funds, which include your general fund, which is the primary operating fund of the city. And then the capital improvements fund, which is considered a major fund, a significant fund there. And then all the other governmental funds that are smaller. And so they're all collapsed and combined on that. And so your total governmental funds, total assets, 2.7 million. Of that, 1.8 million of it is cash and investments. That's actually about a $400,000 increase over last year. Again, primarily related to your increase in sales taxes and your decreases in the spending. Liabilities, approximately 480,000, leaves an ending fund balance or equity of about 2.2 million. And of that 2.2 million, 1.2 of it is unrestricted. And the majority of that is in the general fund. Okay. Page 5 is primarily the income statement for the governmental funds. Again, your revenues and transfers in are approximately 4.3 million. Your expenditures of 3.9, leaving an increase in fund balance or net income of about 400,000, which I've kind of touched on that a couple of other times previously. So that covers the governmental funds. Then we jump into pages 7, 8, and 9, which are your water and sewer funds or the proprietary funds. Page 7 is your balance sheet or statement of net position. Total assets, 9.3 million. And again, a significant amount of that is all the water and sewer infrastructure in place in the capital assets. The liabilities, approximately 3.2 million. Of that, 2.9 million are the loans to acquire capital assets and finance them. And then your ending equity or net position is 6.1 million, which 4.3 of that is wrapped up in your capital assets net of the loans against those assets, leaving 1.7 million of unrestricted net position to be used for future operations. So page 8 is the income statement for the water and sewer funds. Again, your operating revenues, approximately 2.1 million. Your operating expenses of 1.7 million. This is one thing as an auditor I always look at for enterprise funds to see, are your operations providing income? And so in this case, you had an operating income of both funds of $330,000. So that's pretty good, because that means that you're generating enough revenue to even fund depreciation on your capital assets. I don't always see that as a case. So that's a good thing. Then you guys actually transfer out and approximately a little over $300,000 to other funds, primarily to the general fund to cover some of the services and cost of the general fund and their departments. And so really overall, you had a minor net income of about 15,000. So again, it's not a concern from an auditor standpoint. So that's the water and sewer funds seem to be functioning as intended. Page 9, statement of cash flows. This is a statement that really it shows you where the money's coming in and where the money's going out related to your water and sewer funds. Okay, and so primarily it goes through, where the cash is coming from, your operations, where it's coming from non-capital financial, where it's coming from capital financial, where it's coming from investing. And so it shows there that for the year, you guys actually had a decrease in the cash of about 70 or 69,000, and a lot of that is purchases and acquisitions of capital assets for the systems. So, but again, you ended the year with about 1.2, 1.3 million in cash and investments. Okay. So following there, the notes to the financial statements, I am not going to spend any time on these. I always joke with people that if you have trouble sleeping at night, to pick these up and start reading through them, and might help you. Then following the notes on page 32 and 33, this shows you all the other governmental funds and the combining of them. So you have the Conservation Trust, your Urban Renewal Fund, Kids Connection, Grants Fund, and the Capital Projects Fund. So those all get combined, and then the numbers roll up to the front pages there on pages 3 and 5. The other thing we look at as part of our audit, we look at all your budgets and compared to actual to make sure that there's no over expenditure, because that's required by state statute, that you do not spend in excess of what you appropriate or estimate to spend. And so again, we didn't have any issues there. And so that kind of covers the financial statements. I'll go ahead and jump into the management letter. And I guess I can say the management letter is kind of boring this year, which is always a good thing. So our professional standards require us to communicate certain things to you, the governing board, the city council of the city, as far as what standards and procedures we are required to follow. We also have to talk about, if we made, significant changes to accounting estimates or significant accounting policies, if there were any significant audit adjustments. We did make some audit adjustments to the records, but they were not significant enough to cause us concern. So if, that's what that tells you as a city council, that tells you that the numbers you are being provided throughout the year 2019 are what's in this final audited document. We also, if we had any issues or disagreements with management during our audit, and I always say, if we had, you would have heard from me before tonight. So that's always a good thing. And so the one thing I'll follow up on, last year, we had a comment in there about the courts system and stuff. And I know Nina and the staff, they're working diligently on cleaning that up. So that's good. I removed that comment this year because it's in the process and so each year we will follow up on that and look at that. So what that tells you from a governing council standpoint is that, policies and procedures that have been put in place and adopted by the city over the years are being followed by city staff and management. And so it also tells you that you have good internal controls in place. And so we always take a look at that and take that seriously when contemplating on issuing the opinion. So, that's kudos to the staff there. That's kudos to the governing council and the previous councils for putting good, solid policies and procedures in place. And so I know I kind of threw a lot of information out at you. Are there any questions?
I have one, if you can hear me.
Yep, I can hear you.
Cool. Yeah, sure, Johnson. Tabor has been an issue with me since before I got on the council, and I tried to follow it since then because it's a critical part of this whole process. You mentioned back on page 1 the Tabor Reserve. That is the number that matched that. Maybe you can clear that up for me.
So there on page 1, the Tabor Reserve is down near the bottom under governmental activities. It says restricted for emergencies. And so that's that 117,000. Okay. And so what the statute requires is that a local government has restricted in their equity 3% of fiscal year spending, which basically fiscal year spending is primarily your expenditures plus or minus change in fund balance, which basically that comes down to revenues. Federal dollars, conservation trust or lottery dollars, those are excluded from the calculation because they're exempt by the statute. They were actually written in. I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I think the way you put it was 178,000. Now that I get that mark, was the majority of that was from Tabor,
Mm-hmm.
or is that all Tabor?
The 117,000 is all Tabor.
Okay.
So it's, and again, it's primarily an exercise or computation that the city does at the end of the year, primarily during audit time. And you know, it is monitored because if the city ever got into what's called an emergency situation and used that, then it has to be replenished when the emergency situation goes away. And I actually had another municipality in all my 20 some years of doing this since Tabor became law in 1992. This was the first time I'd ever had a client that actually exercised it and used it. And it was over, I think, a 3-year period. So, but then once again, this is probably too much information, but then it's replenished at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Mr. Logan, the question is as much for you as maybe staff may have a better answer on this one. The only number that really caught my attention on this was in page 25 of the document that future debt requirements in the beginning of 2025, our future debt jumps. And I was wondering if we had an explanation for that.
Yeah, I can address that. So the reason it looks like it jumps, so the first 5 years are single year presentations, but starting in 2025, that's 5 years. And I think that's what you're asking, is why it went from like 116,000 up to 600 and some thousand. Is that right?
Yeah, that's basically what I was asking. I think even let's see.
So primarily that this debt service is about 175. You can see in the total column for these first 5 years, it's about 175,000 a year. And so as time goes, that's primarily what these first 2 groups of 5 years include. And then one of the issues, I believe, kind of is retired or paid off there sometime in that 2030 to 2034 time frame. And so that's why you see the numbers decreasing. Does that help?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Good. Anything else? Well, in closing, I want to thank Jennifer and Forrest and the finance staff, and the city staff and Nita and Rob for all their help during the audit process, because they really had the hard part of digging for the information and finding information for us. And so it really makes our process go smooth. And the city of Monte Vista was one of my last clients that I actually got to do it in person at their offices. I've been doing all of the rest of my audits remotely, and so they're not as timely. So I really appreciate the work that they do.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Reminds me why I didn't become an accountant.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Have a good,
You all have a good evening and a good weekend.
you too.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Chelsea's in too.
Okay. That wasn't me. So that's Chelsea. So Chelsea on Zoom for the farmer's market.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hi, I think Deanne was actually going to do most of the talking. Is she there?
Is who?
Deanne Elliott?
No.
No.
Oh, good. No pressure then.
Wait, she is here. She is here. She just popped on. Let me allow her to talk here.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, hi, good. So this is Deanne Elliott, and I'm the manager for the Monte Vista Farmers Market. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to come and say thank you for the city's support for the market. This is going to be our 8th year. And so we're gearing up for the 2020 season. I want to especially say thanks to Rob, because he's always quick when I call and have a problem with something at the lot, like with the trash or the electricity or whatever. And also to Nita for all her help with the vendor permits. So I recently sent information out to vendors, and you might have seen it in the newspaper, in the journal, just kind of a preliminary information to let people know that we are going to have the market this year. We're working with the Colorado Farmers Market Association and following the governor's like the Safer at Home order and public health information, so to see what requirements there are for farmers markets. And we will be keeping up with that, and I hope to send out a letter by the end of the month with more specific information to the vendors. And I look to see most of that is going to be about distancing and traffic through the market. But so our big news for this season is that Chelsea McNerney Martinez is going to be the new manager for the market. And I will still continue being there this year and do training and, you know, just to go through a season together. But I want to welcome Chelsea, and maybe Chelsea, do you want to say anything?
No, just thank you for the opportunity, and thank you again to the city for hosting the farmers market and for allowing us to be there and all the help that the city provides. Hopefully we can see one reliable thing this summer that's still going on more or less as normal.
Thanks, Chelsea. Chelsea's been a big supporter of the market since we started. Like I said, this will be our 8th season this year. As we go through the market too, we'll all just be aware of changes. If say like if COVID becomes, there's more cases that we need to make some changes, we will be monitoring that and paying attention to that so we can change the market if we need to. So our market's the same on Friday mornings from 9 a.m. to 1. We start July 10th and go through September 12th. And I guess I would just I would just like to make a formal ask to the city that we are allowed to use that parking lot again. That's really worked out great for us. It's just a nice visible spot and it's easy to get to. It's easy for our vendors to come into. And if you do allow us to use that parking lot again, then I see that the city is offering to help restaurants get opened again, to have some outdoor seating, which is wonderful. But if any restaurants do want to use that parking space, I just would ask that we still be allowed to be there on Friday mornings, just until probably till like 2 o'clock, I guess, 9 to 2. So I guess that's all I have. I just appreciate your support and we're looking forward to a great season.
Good, thank you, Deanne.
So we can address that. You know, we have the first ask.
Yeah.
Okay, we do have a number of restaurants that are interested in potentially using that space for additional outside seating. I think that they could work together to accommodate that. You know, one, because they usually, if we say the farmer's market going to be out of there by 2, then the restaurants are using it kind of the rest of the week or whatever.
Right.
But I think that they can all work together.
Sure.
And it'd actually be kind of beneficial. We have a group that's working with Nita on that. So, you know, I kind of figured this come up tonight, but I think we'd all work together, share the space. It would actually maybe enhance the farmer's market and the experience for 2 to 3 restaurants that might do it. So it makes that kind of even a more, I think at some point when they did that parking lot originally, they thought it'd get used a lot and it hasn't. The farmer's market's been great there. So this actually is like an additional opportunity for the community, and we think that that will be a great restaurant space if the restaurants want it, which they seem to.
Sure.
So I think we could all work together.
Friday is the more of an evening thing, beginning of the weekend. So yeah, I was just thinking about that when you covered it. So.
You know, play nice.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And we will work with whoever we need to. And I just a reminder that a big reason why we want to be in the downtown area is to have the community be able to go and visit or shop at other businesses that are downtown that are within walking distance. So I think you're right that that's good all around for us. I guess that's the one sad thing about this year is that a big goal for the farmers market is to build community. And this year we're going to be spending a lot of effort doing the social distancing thing. But I've had quite a few people contact me already about wanting to be at the market or just customers. So I think we'll have a good year, even if we have to make some accommodations. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Need a motion for that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, I move to allow the farmers market use of the parking lot from July 10th through September 12th on Friday mornings.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow the farmer's market to use the parking lot from July 10th to September 12th. Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries for farmers market to use the parking lot from July 10th to September 12th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, prior to moving on down the agenda, one thing that we kind of skipped there is you had a presentation of the financial statements this evening, and we would hope the council would pass a motion to accept the financials as the audited financials.
want me to submit them to the city? Y'all can get in trouble for that, that's okay.
You want to, I will move that we accept the auditor's report as written.
Second, yeah. Second.
Thanks, Forrest. It's been moved and seconded to accept the Logan and Associates audit report. Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve the audit report for 2019 as submitted by Logan and Associates.
Thank you.
Good work.
Just to see what else on there missed.
No, it's not your fault.
I think it. It's always the director's fault.
We'll have a discussion when we. Citizen comments. City Council welcomes your unscheduled comments. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. Council will not take action at the same meeting. Margot, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, Margo.
Hi, everyone. I'm Margot Alexander, and I am tickled to death to see this open again. I've missed you guys. I really have. I missed the interaction, and I want to thank you for carrying on as well as you have during all this mess we've been in. And just want to thank everybody for the work they've done. And we're working on the city gardens, and trash got picked up. Oh, thank you, Lord. And so progress is being made, and I just want to thank everyone for the work you've done.
Thank you, Margot.
And thank you for your work with flower beds. They look nice.
Thank you.
Ken?
So my name's Ken Hanker. Linda was supposed to be here tonight. We're here on behalf of the Monte Vista Chamber of Commerce. And she can't be here because unfortunately her puppy's not doing well. So anyway, what we wanted to come forward to, because we've been working while everybody's been working, we've been working on a lot of different things. And mostly is improving communication with our businesses, improving communication with other organizations around the valley. One of the things we're doing chamber-wise is we're meeting every Tuesday morning, Zoom right now, so that we can work on how to pass out information to the community and our businesses on things that are available to them as far as loans and grants and PPP and things like that. So they have a chance to get some funding on that. So we've been working on that communication. We've been working on the venues of communication, websites, Facebook, task force, radio, press, podcasts, et cetera, so forth. Again, to get that information out to our businesses. Because what we found over this period of time is, we need a greater level of communication, chamber-wise, with our member businesses and with businesses throughout the community. So, that all said, what we were going to ask this evening would be that the possibility, council folks, of having a permanent spot on the agenda so that the Chamber of Commerce can present progress and things going on from our perspective in the community. Do you want to answer that, obviously, but that's what we wanted to present this evening. So that we would have a chance to, once again, improve our level of communication with the city and the Chamber of Commerce. I did forget something else. I am organizing right now a monthly chamber and city, some of them will be city managers, but all the towns in the valley that have chambers, and those that don't will have somebody from the city sitting in on it, and we're going to do a monthly meeting and talk about whatever we want to talk about. Have an agenda and again, improve communication over the valley. So that, because what you see now during this COVID thing, everybody's doing something. you know, but nobody's telling each other what they're doing. So could be repeated, could be better. We could use something, Alamos could use something, Delmar could use something. So we're trying to improve that level of communication. So that's what we were going to talk about this evening in our 3 minutes. Might have more than 3 minutes, but Linda's not here, so I took her 3 minutes. But lastly but not least, we have a new business. Everybody knows that. The polished bean. And we do have a ribbon cutting next Thursday, just before, I see we have a 1 cent committee that day. But at 11:30, 11:45, over there, we have a ribbon cutting. The conquistadors are doing that. So great, a brand new business during the COVID, fantastic. So I invite everybody here to be there and welcome that new piece of business.
Where is it?
Polished Edge. You were Polished Edge.
Polished Edge. It's their new coffee shop. Call it the Polished Bean, it's called. And it's
Coffee shop, little sandwiches.
Polished Bean, it's a coffee shop.
Where? Coffee shop. they got little
Where the
sandwiches,
Polished Edge is at,
treats.
right there next to
It's in the
Sonic,
same
where the
building.
granite is
So
sitting out
They have
front.
granite, they have furniture, and they have coffee.
Right.
Yeah. They need a bigger building, they can have something else. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. You got anything? Your citizen? No? Always give you the opportunity. Okay, Nita, you're up. Resolution.
So this evening I present to you Resolution 2020-01. This is a resolution amending the approval process for an application requesting change of location of premises to allow outdoor dining and outdoor service of liquor under the existing liquor license for the use during the pandemic of COVID-19. So what this would allow is for businesses to bring forward an application to serve alcohol outside of their current premises. The state has also done temporary modifications. So last week, the week before, I did give all of the businesses who have liquor license a packet so that they know what the state wants and what the city wants. What this would allow for is for these to be made administratively versus bringing it to the liquor authority. Any questions?
The power to move on more quickly, correct?
Correct. So the state, it still has to go through a process with the state. The state is requiring $150, and then they do have to fill out the application for the modification. But I got notice today that here within the last 2 weeks, since it's been noticed that they were going to do this, they've been turning them around within 7 hours.
Motion to approve resolution 2020-01. Process for removal of oh, I'm saying this.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 2020-01. Resolution amending the approval of process for an application requesting change in location of premises to allow outdoor dining and outdoor service of liquor under an existing liquor license for use during the pandemic of COVID-19. Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries to approve resolution 2020-01.
All right, Rob, you are on the.
I'm on the hot seat now, huh?
Yes, sir.
Council, tonight in front of you is the award
the 2020 Sixth Avenue Culvert Replacement Project. Last year, there's a culvert that crosses Sixth Avenue right there by Highway 15 that developed a hole. The culvert, the hole itself is about 2.5 feet in diameter. Upon investigation, we found that the entire culvert is littered with rust on the top, and so it's going to collapse on us. So we have a piece of steel holding the cars up as they travel over it. So we did not have the funds last year that were budgeted, and it happened during the winter, so we wouldn't be able to do a construction project anyway. So this year in front of you now is that project. We've gone through the engineering, we went out to bids, received 3 bids back. The apparent low bidder was RMS Utilities with a price of $25,410.00. We would like to recommend the council to award to RMS that project. With the ditches and stuff running, we need to wait until September to have that project run. But if you have driven over 6th Avenue lately, you'll see that piece of steel is actually exposed right now. So the time is of the essence. As soon as the ditch stops running, we want to shut that road down. We'll get that culvert replaced. So it's safe. We have basically what we've done, just so everybody knows, so the road is safe. Taking a 8-foot by 4-foot sheet of 3/4 inch steel plate, which is exactly what they use over if you have an open trench to let vehicles pass that. That's actually what's under the asphalt right now, where that culvert sits, that is holding that road up so that culvert can't collapse any further. So we are safe for the time being, but I don't want to let this project go beyond, and I know with COVID and worries and stuff about sales tax and stuff, this is a project that absolutely must forward. 6th Avenue is one of our arterial roads, and we can have that road open. If council would agree with our recommendation, the motion to approve and to award the contract to RMS for the amount of $25,410, and also to allow the city manager to sign the contract. Questions?
I was gonna say, yeah, you might want to add that.
This project was, but
I think he's got it covered. I mean, it's budgeted, it's got it fixed.
I think the last motion was your turn.
Oh, you're gonna make it come back. Y'all have to tell me what you
For council, when I do these type of things, if you ever look at the bottom of my sheets, my memos to you, I will have the motion highlighted at the bottom.
For the remedial freshmen on the council.
You don't have to try to figure out how to draft one.
So I move to approve awarding the 2020 6th Avenue Culvert Replacement Project. To what?
All right, you should finish reading it. You gotta read the whole thing.
Thank you. To award the 2026 Avenue Culvert Replacement Project to RMS Utilities for the sum of $25,410, and to allow the city manager to sign the contract.
Second motion.
Been moved and seconded to award the 2026 Avenue Culvert Replacement Project to RMS Utilities in the sum of $25,410, and to allow the city manager to sign the contract. Is there any more discussion? Anita?
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Foster?
Aye.
Counselor Locke?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries to award the 2020 culvert replacement on 6th Avenue.
Council.
Thank you, Rob.
A little rusty.
Yeah, a little rusty. A little rusty. It's supposed to be the social distancing order. Right? Yeah, like I feel like I'm in the bleachers going, hey. Okay, well, good evening, council. It's fun to have a live meeting. I know Zoom is technically live, but somehow it's not quite the same thing. Well, let's see. I really like when I get to my report and we've already done most of the stuff. But one announcement I wanted to make tonight, it's on Facebook and we're putting it out there, but this is excellent news. And Kids Connection will be open, okay? Starting Monday, June 15th, sorry. The new hours of operation are 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Thursday. So there's a few changes due to COVID stuff. So people actually have to register children in advance, right? It's not just drop off your kids because they have certain limits of kids that you have, which is like 40, right? So they have 2 classrooms set up, 20 that are like the regular full day people, and 20 kids, which can be half day or full day. Anyway, it's taken a Nika 1,000 hours to figure out the schedule because the state's regulations have changed 434 times in the last 3 months. So she thought she had it all figured out, and then I was like, no, you can't do this, and oh, you have to have this thing, and yeah. Anyway, but then miraculously, 2 days ago, the state published some new rules for this type of facility, and she went back to pretty much the original program that she had designed 2.5 months ago. So that's good. So there's a few changes there, but people can go on to, they can email Kids Club at ci.money, .co.us, or call Kids Club at 852-6966. Pretty quickly here, they'll have an online registration app and some other really cool things. Even with the changes, it should be a really good program. You know, one of the aspects that we like, that Kids Connection like, is the state really like get the kids outside as much as they can. So we'll be working on that. They'll have access to the playground, you know, over by the Veterans Park. And so they'll get those kids outside a lot, and it should be a great program. And we knew we had, I mean, we had enough calls and everything, we certainly can serve that many kids. And it's just kind of a new way of the world. So, I just wanted to announce that for our listeners. It's out there, it's getting out there, but this is all this was decided today. There's your late breaking news for the council meeting. But it's pretty excited. She's excited that, you know, she had already figured it out. We have kind of this new phrase. It took everybody else a while to catch up to. And as you know, Nikki does a great job with their staff. We're really excited about that. Let's see. And I had a thing in my memo about restaurant outreach. That's really excited. Nikki's done a great job getting that information out, you know, talking to restaurants. We definitely have 3 that are interested in doing, you know, all our parking lot kind of thing. So we'll see how that goes. Some of the other restaurants have their own parking lots. So they're not going to need this. And there's lots of opportunities there. And she can talk a little bit more about that. But it's kind of exciting that people are like, you know, thinking outside of the 4 walls of their establishment. So, pretty exciting. You know, we finally closed on the ambulance bays and all through that. January or early February, but with everything else that was on, it kind of went away, but we got all closed, and so that is now not ours, which is pretty exciting, and you know, closing is great, and we worked fine. It's just took a long time. In your packet, I have a request for you all to endorse me as a nominee for the CML Executive Board. I figure it's a long shot for me to get elected to it, but you never know. They have a small cities category, which is less than 8,000 people, and
you know, I looked at the cities that they have that are small cities, and we're talking mostly the Front Range. So, you know, except for Ignacio, but the other small cities categories, like Kono, and I think one's like Cherry Hills Village, which is interesting, but certainly not like the rest of the small cities. So I've been interested in that for a while, but that's require you to pass the endorsement. And, I was hoping you can kind enough to do that, but if you don't, well, I don't have a chance not to get elected. So either way, but I certainly appreciate that. Another really, really exciting thing, this is like land marquee for the URA board. I will tell you, for years, we have been working on this flight program, years, like forever, like almost as long as I've been here, which isn't quite forever, but it's been a while. I bet 4 years we've been working on the same program. And finally, next Tuesday, the 9th, at 9 a.m., there's an opportunity for you all to be there while the excavator starts ripping down one of the properties that we acquired through tax liens, thusly eliminating some blight in our community. That's at 917 South Broadway. You can't mistake that house for anything else but what it is. It was a very friendly transaction on that one. Actually, it wasn't. That was actually one where we, the owners actually heard about our program. We had a talk, and we needed a transaction. So that's even better. We felt like it would benefit the community. It's a very visible spot. So we're going to have an opportunity there to take the photos, and you know, unfortunately, all the windows are intact, so we won't be able to break any of those prior to the anyway, it should be a pretty cool thing, and it's pretty exciting because it's taking 1,000 man hours to get there. Rob and his crew will be doing that demo that's part of our deal with the state. And as that demo starts, then we'll be getting some reimbursements for the properties that we purchased. So more money kind of coming back to the city. Okay. Let's see. And just as a side note to the financials, you know, Councilor Foster, you asked about that, you know, that 5-year thing, which was huge. But really a cool thing that occurs in the middle of that, in 2028, not so far away, our bonds will finally be paid off for Rob, which means that nearly a penny of sales tax will be freed up to do other good projects. So I certainly look forward to that. I appreciate Ken here representing the chamber tonight. The chamber's been doing a lot of really great outreach to the businesses and working on communication, and I've been happy to follow that and see that. They've been a really good conduit for all of our businesses. So that's pretty outstanding. Appreciate that. And I think, so I also want to say that I appreciate our new chief. He hit the ground running. He actually started working here before he worked here, which was really cool. Working on a few items for us. So we really appreciate him having him here. He's had an opportunity to meet with all the management team. And he still stayed long enough to be sworn in twice. So it's a pretty good opportunity for us as well. So I don't have anything else for you. If you all want to do that letter for me, that'd be great. And if you have any questions for me, I'm excited to see us all in the same room. You know, I mean, bring this pro tonight. It's great to see you all, and then we look forward to moving forward in our community.
So Forrest, you got in here the RFQ?
Pardon me? Oh, well, the RFQ is issued in signature. Okay. So that's out there in the public. You got all together. It's out there, and it closes on 30th. Right?
Correct.
June 30th?
June 30th.
So they'll come back, they'll get collated, you all get a chance to look at them and go through an interview process.
Well, I move to approve the letter endorsing City Manager Garber to the CNL Executive Board.
Second that motion. Getting closer, Forrest. Been moved and seconded to approve the letter of endorsement for the city manager to be on the CML executive board. Is there any more discussion? Keita?
Counselor Locke,
Aye.
Counselor Foster,
Aye.
Counselor Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Becker.
Aye.
Motion carries for endorsement for the CML Executive Board for Forrest Newberg.
Thank you very much, appreciate that. I'll let you know if I win. But, yeah, I do appreciate it.
I gotta stay positive on this stuff.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
So I'll just make this brief. I just want to, Forrest already touched on some of this. I just wanted to let you guys know that as directed by you at the last council meeting, you asked me to go ahead and get information out to our local restaurants about outdoor dining. When that all came down, it also came down with the liquor division allowing for temporary modifications. So what I did is I put together a letter, and I hand delivered it to each and every restaurant within our community. With that letter is the guidelines from the governor's office and also the tips from the restaurant association that I gave each one of those restaurants. Made the process very simple through the city. Process number one is they need to have a sketch of their outdoor plan and where they're going to seat them. Location of tables. If they're gonna have liquor, then one of the parts of the sketch, they have to show it roped off or have barricades or something that shows where they're going to serve the liquor. Liquor division said they're even okay with planners. If they wanna set, 6 planners up, 4 planners up to show the location of where they're going to be able to serve the alcohol. So I kind of went off of the same thing as what the liquor division did, is they just need to show a sketch of where they're going to have it. And then the second step was to a letter of permission from their owner if they can't have it on their own property. So I have had actually today a couple of property owners come forward and say, hey, if restaurants want to set up tables on my property, they can't. Problem is that they have to be somewhat adjacent to the restaurants for liquor license. So they need to have a letter of approval allowing them to be on the property. And then the third thing is if they are going to have any outdoor tent, they would need to ask for that in their written request for outdoor dining. So I've made it a very simple 3-step process for the restaurants to be able to have outdoor dining. As of today, I haven't had anyone bring anything forward. But I do know that Mountain View is working on theirs. They want to do some outdoor dining in their parking lot. And like Forrest said, I've been in talking with Rain Brews, Quincy's, and Nino's for the parking lot. So that's still, they're trying to get together. They want to do something with 3 of them together. So they're still working that out amongst them before they bring it to me. The letter that I wrote was based off the governor's guidelines, restaurant tips, but I also want to make sure that I give credit where credit is due, and that's with the chamber. Gary Apgar sent me a letter that the chamber had drafted, and they had sent the letter at the same time that I had started taking the letters, that I started writing the letter from the city. So it was really good timing. So I took a lot of what Jerry had in his letter and I incorporated it in my letter. So this is a letter, a combination between the city and the chamber to help our local restaurants get back on their feet. Because currently the state governor's guidelines is 50% capacity. By allowing all of our local restaurants to do outdoor dining, will allow them to bring that capacity hopefully up to 100%. That's really all I have to report to you guys tonight. One thing that I didn't write a report, but we had court for the first time since COVID. We had 6 people in the courtroom at a time. Once we got the bugs worked out at first, it went very smoothly. And everybody that came in wore masks. So it was pretty smoothly after the first few minutes. So.
Very good. Thank you, Nina. Welcome, gentlemen.
First, I want to apologize for the commotion we had earlier when the council started. Trying to get a couple things figured out and apologize if we were distracting. Second, I'm going to be giving part of our police report and Sergeant Martinez will give the other part. Since we were both kind of in charge during the last month and a half or so, we figured it was appropriate for us to both kind of let you know. First, we have our events, which because of the pandemic, pretty much everything got canceled. Coffee with the Cop, Neighborhood Watch, we had our Easter egg hunt, everything was canceled for the past 3 months or so, something like that. We have DUI enforcement, seatbelt enforcement, the state put a stop to all that. They barely opened that up now in the past couple weeks. We can start doing that stuff. Hopefully, with the chief being color, we can get copies of top going and watch going in the next couple months. Guidelines. As soon as we get the short break guidelines and get everything figured out, we can get those going again. And then obviously everybody knows Stampede is canceled. This will be a big time for us now to be planning and getting ready on our end. Don't have to do that. It's a little less headache right now, but I think a lot of guys are at them around that. National Night Out was postponed from August due to the pandemic, possibly in September, October. So as soon as we have an official date and time and things like that, we'll be putting that out to everybody to participate. So some of the stats that we've had for the past 2 to 3 months are definitely affected by the pandemic and how our responses to calls, and Sergeant Martinez will get into that a little. But just for comparison, March, we had 798 calls for service with 38 arrests. In April, it dropped down to 623 calls with 21 arrests. We didn't get May's numbers from dispatch yet, but for the month we had 42 arrests, so it's starting to pick up a little bit towards the end of May as things were starting to open up. Our average arrests for January and February before the pandemic and everything, the lockdown, we had 53 arrests. And for comparison from last year, we had 48 arrests from March through April. So our numbers definitely fluctuated because of the pandemic and how we were responding to calls and being in contact with people and things like that. One thing I will note is our burglaries and our trespasses for March through the end of May. For 2019, we had 6 burglaries, 6 trespasses in that time, total 12 calls, or total 12 reports in there. This year, for 2020, March to May, we had 15 burglaries and 7 trespasses. So I definitely think pandemic and people losing jobs and things like that affected our stats and how we call it. As far as stats go, that's all we have.
So a little bit on the administration side, you heard Sergeant Ortega talk a lot about how the pandemic affected us. And I think we kind of went on the radio station and took it to social media, how we were responding so the community did know. We maintained our presence. We did a lot of foot patrol down the business district, and we did a lot of vehicle patrol at nighttime as requested. What we still maintain is our emergency response. So every emergent call we did respond to. What we altered was non-emergent things, our cold calls, requests for callbacks and things like that. If we didn't necessarily need to respond in person, we did not. took care of it by phone. We had people emailing us statements for cold burglaries and things like that. And if we did respond, our officers had proper PPE. We had an overwhelming ability to get masks from community members and made us masks. We had gloves and things like that. So our officers were definitely thinking about safety first. Fortunately, we didn't have a loss of any officer to sickness related to COVID. We had a couple sick call-ins here and there, but nothing major. So that's how the pandemic affected our response, and then down the line affected our calls for service. I've given you Sergeant Ortega. On an administrative side, we had, you guys saw Officer Jonathan Moreno as he was sworn in. He started in April with training. Currently, right now, he's on phase 2 of training. His full training officer is Corporal Harper. He's progressing well and promising. He's there. Corporal Hart, he was our second K9 member. He took another job at Rio Grande County Sheriff's Office. Currently in the process of trying to find a buyer and new home for K9 Jake. The chief is well aware of what's going on with that, and I think he's going to be the one to finish that process for us. We had an open corporal position that we sent advertisement for. I believe we had maybe 2 applicants within, and we're gonna make announcements soon as to the results of that. We're accepting patrol applications. We have a few that are in background now. I'm doing those, so that should we should get to that soon. Code enforcement, we had 606 Adams right there at the corner of 6th and Adams. I'm sure you've all passed it. We've had a lot of calls there for squatters as it is abandoned. That's been taken over by the Rio Grande Public Health Administration there. I believe they found somebody to help clean the property up, but the last time I checked, he's got quite a long ways to go. But we do see him out there probably every day. 240 Adams Street. At the time of this writing, we had put the property owner will be cited. As of yesterday, it was the renter who was cited. He's responsible for the property. I'm told that he was cited due to lack of progress, and I don't know if there was much progress on phase 3 or 2. And on my end, that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Do you all have any questions for us about anything that happened in the role of the transition?
And that's exactly what it should be.
Yeah, we didn't hear much, so you guys must have done.
So
a
that's
good
good.
Just not required.
That's right.
Well, thank you guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Council, committee, city commission, and council reports.
I'd like to brag on the chamber a little bit. They have allowed me to sit in on their Tuesday morning meetings. And though there's not much else to say after, Ken got up and took everything that I was going to say, I'm just going to say they're doing a really good job. They are stepping up their game. They're really concentrating. With the lack of events, they have been able to concentrate more on helping business. And they have stepped in that gap and done a really, really good job.
All right, couple items. Number one, in our previous meeting, we went into executive session and spent a significant amount of time talking about the golf course, which is something that we spend a significant amount of time talking about, it seems. And in that meeting, it was mentioned several times at least 3 that I could count, and said, you know, we need some community input on what the community's feeling is regarding golf courses. And I comprised an idea that maybe we should poll the community, and drafted a survey that could be put into the water bills, that could also be put online, that we could find out, is the community interested in a golf course? That would help us determine what the future should be of the course. And that item is up for discussion today. I know that several people saw that when it was circulated in an email. And either way, I don't know if we need to proceed with motion or not, but what you see in front of you is a draft of a poll that I'll kind of skim this for the people who are out there and don't have this in front of you. Basically, it's real simple. It's, first question is, have you golfed at the Monte Vista Golf Course in the last 12 months? Have you attended an event or function at the Monte Vista Golf Course in the last 12 months? Would you golf more often at the golf course if it was updated? Would you hold an event or function at the golf course if facilities were? I feel that the golf course is an asset to a community. That one is answers range from strongly disagree to strongly agree. I would like the city to open a discussion about other additional uses for the golf course. Once again, that ranges from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and then has a place for comments. Appreciated City Manager and Councilor Johnson submitting a couple corrections on the survey. So I think we'll throw it out and see what you guys have, other questions you have on this.
I like the way you worded it. Yes. Yeah. Wasn't much to change there. It's not an invasive or intimidating. It's just it's what a survey ought to be. Just come up with your ideas. Pretty simple, straightforward.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask the councilor some questions?
Yes.
So I like the survey questions a lot. I mean, in the scope of golf course, I think they're great. My question for the council would be maybe expand that a little bit and ask the community a few other questions. They're putting the mailing and stuff. We haven't really talked to the community much directly since all this COVID stuff, because well, on Zoom, not too many people see that, right? And we should adapt to our regular thing. But I'm just wondering if there's other areas we might, you know, the proverbial 20 questions that we might want to ask the community, and this would be a good element, because that is something that the council talked about. But I'm just wondering if we want to broaden it, not actually do what the video means, but ask the community a few other questions. Like if the chamber had 5 questions we want to ask the community, that might go in there, and you know, maybe some other questions that we might have from staff standpoint. Like, you know, a question that I have to come to mind, maybe spring cleanup this year, right? Well, for fairly obvious reasons, would people be interested in having a fall? I mean, I think the answer to that is yes, but I don't know. You know, I was having a discussion with the chief about National Night Out, because National, they said, let's have it in October. Like a nice outdoor event in October, the park here could be a bit of yes, exactly. A little nebulous. So, you know, sometimes you think, well, that's people having this big thing, they think it's great, but we're actually maybe pursuing a slightly alternative strategy. So I don't know if you're interested in asking more questions. I think these are a good start, but I think if we're going to have the opportunity to ask any questions, let's ask. You know, if it's 21 questions, I have no idea. It's social engineering a long time ago. So I don't know, just throwing that out there.
I like that. I think there are a lot of things we could ask. We can ask, what sort of businesses would you like to see in your town? What would keep you from leaving Monte Vista to go shopping? What would keep you here? What would keep your dollars here? because that's just off the top of my head, because you just now asked the questions, I didn't have a lot of time to think about it, but I'll be tomorrow, I'm just slept on it.
Actually, I've had some experience with this kind of thing in business, and just to cut to the chase, we're probably at about the maximum of what you're actually going to start getting responses from people. You've seen these things come through your email, and or you just, a lot of times it's just, how did we do? And fill out this survey. Well, your first impression is no. I'm not going to waste my time with it. The second impression is, well, maybe there's just a couple. And if there's a couple questions, then fine. And if it goes on, next screen, I'm just shutting down. I agree with you that it would be helpful to have more information. I think we could do that as an additional survey sometime. I think this encompasses the hardcore stuff that we don't know right now. We don't know. We've talked about this a lot. You made that point. It's, yeah, we talk and we talk and we talk. But these simple questions, I think we get a little better response, and they cover exactly what we need to know. Then we can talk about going further with just my opinion, but that's, we've all had experience with that. I've had a lot of experience with it because I've structured these things in business as a marketing tool. And that was our experience. If you get too much information involved, it's probably not going to come back, or it's going to be a very limited response. This, I think, would get us a pretty good volume of response, and the questions are worded in such a way that it really covers things. And I don't really care one way or the other. It's just, I would like to see the questions get answered. So that's just my thinking.
I'm not against adding, I'm not married to this and not against adding questions to it. In direct answer to your initial question, there is a point, and we've all been there, of question fatigue, where you don't want to load too much down, because then you just don't fill it out because it takes too much time. And I think we need to be sensitive to that. Otherwise, we're like not accomplishing what we wish to accomplish. I feel that this tool can be used a lot more than just this one occasion. I would like to see this used more, just in my own limited, now beginning my 6-month term here, I have discovered that people, if you ask them, are willing to tell you their opinion. People like to be asked. People want to give their opinion. And I think that this is a real easy and relatively inexpensive vehicle to poll our constituents and find out what they are interested in, where they want to go with some of this stuff. I know that, one person I talked to kind of, was a little bit taken back, the thought that this might occur on a very regular basis, but honestly, I don't have a problem with it occurring on a regular basis. I think when the citizens start realizing that, yes, your opinion matters, and they start expecting my opinion to be asked on a regular basis, I think that we would start becoming normal behavior, if that made any sense whatsoever. So that's kind of a long answer to your question.
If I can interject something real quick, I don't know if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So as far as sending it out in the water bills, I think, like you said, that's a good idea to initiate it. And if we did it on a regular basis, we might see better response than what we've seen in the past. I do know that we just recently, Rob's guys have been trying to update customer information and phone numbers so that when they're out in the field, they can access the information from their phones via spreadsheet. And so we spent a lot of time creating a form and things to go into the water bill. And of 2,500 water bills that we sent out, we were lucky if we got 25 of those back. with updated information. So, I mean, we've tried to do surveys and tried to get people to update information and get it out there via the water bill. And we just haven't really seen a good response from that. So I think as far as that being the only source, it wouldn't be a good idea. I would suggest doing something like at National Night Out. We have a huge response that night. It's a big event. So perhaps we keep the survey and do it via person. Have us out and about in the crowd, ask people if they'd be willing to fill out a survey there. Just because I think you're going to get a better response that way. So that's just my.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good information. I appreciate that. And I would like to, my initial proposal was that we would also have this online for the people to be able to fill out because, in my world, I would never return a paper survey, okay? That's just the way I am. But if I can go online and fill out the survey and there's people, around who were the other way around, who would never go online. Yeah, you're saying something.
I'd also like to interject some things. So we did do a survey online. We did it for the snow removal project that Rob had worked on. And we let it run for 3 months. 3 months online. I refreshed it. I put it out every week. I kept updating, making sure that it was out there. We had 5 responses. In 3 months, we had 5 responses.
That was posted on Facebook, the city website.
So I just not sure. I would agree with Jenny, maybe more in the public events to have something out there. But I just don't know how much response you're gonna get back. Because you would think snow removal would be a pretty big priority. And you got 5 responses in 3-month period.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that, how that went. I don't remember the number that came in. I didn't realize it was 5.
It was 5.
So, yeah, it is a challenge to get people to respond, but Councilor Foster mentioned getting it as a regular occurrence, I think would help. I'm pretty sure, I don't know, this might be a hot topic. I don't really know. I don't think we have a lot of golfers here in town, but you never know how many do we have. At least a good place to start and maybe send out the same survey a month later or something to people start seeing this stuff. They're either going to get upset and annoyed with it, or they're going to say, well, maybe I should. It doesn't take me but a minute to check this off. So all of this is speculation, obviously. So I don't really know, but that's what I have found in marketing, at least, is the first one out is probably not going to get a lot of response. But when they send out we did this with postcards and that kind of thing. It was for some pretty high-end solar panels. We even had a solar furnace and dishes for your TV. Of course, they were. I don't know if anybody old enough here to remember that they were like 8 feet across and took up your entire backyard. But we ended up with a fair amount of business from that, and that's what it took, is just doing it, 2 or 3 times on a regular basis. I don't know if this community would respond like that, but just a thought. If you won't know anyhow unless you start and see what happens.
I'm a little uncomfortable. I'm not uncomfortable with the survey. I think that's great. And I know some, a little bit about marketing. I know a little bit about maybe how we can increase the responses. I'm a little concerned. I'm very uncomfortable with this being so golf course targeted. We have made an agreement with the golf course. We have had meetings where we have made agreements amongst ourselves as to how we are going to help the golf course. And now this would go out and the golf course has we haven't asked them to attend this meeting to even discuss this. So maybe if we want to start sending out surveys to get constituents' response, which I think is a good idea, I think the chamber would be willing to work with us on that. Maybe take, maybe let one of these questions be one of the questions that's asked. Maybe take, how often have you used the golf course? Okay, then take a question from Forrest, a question from our Becker. We can, we need to see each other a little more. You look different in person. So I think we could, I'm not against the survey as such, but I think that to make the golf course the subject of it would give the golf course pause to say, hey, what are they doing? Do we have an agreement? What, is the city backing down or, backing out? And I think it would just make us look bad to center it on that particular subject. So what do you want? What do you want in town? How many times have you gone to the golf course? Would you like an RV park? What store would you stay in Monte Vista and shop instead of going to Alamosa, the Pueblo Springs? What would you have a question for us that you wanted to ask? What sort of new event would you like to have? Do y'all realize that Monte Vista doesn't even, we wouldn't have had a district anyway, but you don't have a single denial event. Why don't we have a single denial event? We have a single denial event. Those are the kinds of questions to put out, just generalized, not targeting any one entity. That's the only part that makes me uncomfortable about it.
I'll agree with that, because we sat and did the contracts and we've done everything. So to send this out and just picking the golf course out and going out at National Night Out, I don't think you're giving a fair judgment on the golf course to people. Because I would venture to say, and I could be wrong, but I venture to say most people that are National Night Out probably don't golf, would be my guess. So if we're going to do this, I think we need to do it fairly across the board. Personally, as far as the golf course goes, we got an agreement with them and we're going to hold to it because that's what we did. I know it's been a problem child for many years. Not really, maybe problem child isn't the right wording, but been a lot of misunderstanding between golf course and the city for several years. That's my opinion.
I disagree. This is centering it on a golf course is not an affront to anybody. In fact, I wouldn't have any problem taking this over to the golf course board, sitting on the gate. Say we're going to send this out. We're going to try and get some civic input as to what we can do to improve. What can we do to help? Because that's what we committed to do at this last meeting with the golf course, was to step up and help. We put a couple of our people on staff on the board, and I think you're overestimating what you could do with a general survey of all kinds of different things. That's fine if you're asking a committee sitting around a table and you just pass it out, here, check these boxes off. But to send it out, I think the snow removal survey was a good example. People are just not, that should have been important. And maybe is, as they're talking to their neighbors or whatever, but we're going to fill this thing out. I would be very strongly in favor of something like this. Just send it out as is and see what happens. We don't get much response, we send it out again. And I don't have any problem. I presented myself to the golf course. There's nothing offensive.
And I had read your comments before, Mark, about that, and I understand the one of the reasons why I feel we need to act on do this sooner rather than later is how long our life cycle is in this decision. You know, the poll goes out, which wouldn't go out until now July. If you allow a month or so for the results to come back, if there's another meeting with the public, this process could take 3 to 4 months. If I was the golf course, I actually think that I would be in favor of this, because that way I can come back to the council and say, here, look, here's some hard data that says X amount of percent of people in this town say the golf course is a good thing. You know, that's what I'm looking for. I have my own feelings about the golf course. I have expressed them in the past. But honestly, I want some numbers. I've talked with some people. I've talked to my people in my circle of influence, and they feel very much the way I do. However, I suspect that that's probably bad sampling. I honestly want some numbers. And maybe we don't get it this way. And I don't know if we do or don't. You know, and I appreciate that comment, because you're right. We may not get much of a response out of it. We may not get any response out of it. I don't know. But until I can find out some numbers, until I can get some data, I'm going to have to go with my straw poll, and the golf course doesn't want me to do that.
Well, I think that we're sitting here trying to speak for the golf course. Again, I'm uncomfortable with this entire situation. We did not invite the golf board here tonight. They have no idea we're discussing this. They're probably going to find out. And they're probably going to be rightfully upset.
Strongly disagree with that.
And
I read that. Anyhow, I don't know.
thank you.
If I can put on my golf board hat.
Thank you.
Would that be okay?
Yes, please.
So after our last meeting, and we did go back to them and kind of convey what we had discussed about and give them a heads up on everything. I will say that they've made some changes to how it's being managed out there and who is managing it. And I will say in the last week and a half to 2 weeks of these two individuals taking over, they have made leaps and bounds. They have assigned a new person to take over their books. They have assigned a new person to manage the pro shop. They have cleaned it up. They have reorganized. They are going through their accounting records. They are working to get those cleaned up. And as soon as those are cleaned up, they want me to come over and take a look at them just to see how it looks. Not put my time in, clean the books up, go through it with a fine-tooth comb, but to see what they've done. These two individuals that they have appointed have been out there for a combined total, if you put their years of experience together, they've been there 30 years. So they have a love for the course, they've grown up on the course, and you've got second and third generation people who hold this near and dear to their heart. And one thing that I might interject here is Monte Vista's golf course is one of the oldest in the state of Colorado. That is something that sets it apart from other golf courses. Now, I realize that we don't have a huge niche that uses it, but we don't have a huge niche that plays basketball. We don't have a huge niche that plays baseball. We don't have a huge niche that does ultimate frisbee. So the golf course in and of itself has its own niche and its own set of people that it appeals to. And I would have to agree with Councilor Locke that we need to form a committee or have the board members meet with the council on a regular basis and work together that way versus having a he said, she said middle person. We go back and tell them what we discussed here. I think that in order to move forward in a positive way, that's something that needs to happen on a regular basis, because I can tell you that if you take the survey out to their course, they will push it for their members, and just like Councilor Foster said, you're going to have a circle of influence that's going to be those people doing the survey. And I guarantee you, every single one of those members, golfers, their staff are going to push that survey, and they're going to say, this is our course, this is what we want. And you can't deny them that, because it is near and dear to their heart. So I think that if you push a survey, whether it's at National Night Out and you take it out there or you send it out, especially if you send it out in the water bills and take the survey out there, you're gonna see inflated numbers from the golf course of how we use it. It's not going to be a sample size that is going to get you the numbers and the results. You can skew them either way depending on how you run the survey. And I think that it's important, if I can put my finance director hat back on, and say that our first communication after COVID needs to be all encompassing. It needs to not be strictly directed at one single thing. We've lost a lot of recreation events this year. We haven't been able to do summer baseball. Adult basketball got canceled. We don't know what's gonna happen with PE football. You know, golf is one of those recreation programs that got to reopen, that you get to play. And because of that, I can tell you, going by the course on a regular basis these last couple of weeks, they've had more patrons out there than I've seen in a long time. So I think the pandemic has hurt some sports, but it's also helped them. So we do have a board meeting on Monday night, and it will be interesting to see what their numbers look like, to see, you know, last year they got fortunate with the floods. Alamosa was flooded out, Southport was flooded out, and so it drove a lot of people to the golf course here. So, well, I think that they need some help, and we need to help them the best way that we can. I would agree with the mayor that we committed to get them through this season and go from there. And I think that the steps that need to be taken in the meantime is work a little more closely with those that are out there on a regular basis and get their thoughts, get their input, and then go from there. That's my
Let me ask you a question, since you're on the board, and there are a couple, I like what you said, there's some activity going on over there, you got some good people. Do you feel or that they would benefit from some of the information that's here? I mean, I'm just, and yeah.
I know
I don't know if you have a copy of it.
I saw it, yeah. I know as a whole, their goal is to appeal to more people. They're just like you guys. They want the golf course to be something that draws people to Monte Vista. They are a business. They're there to make money. And so the more people that they can draw out there, the better off they're going to be. And I think one thing that would truly, honestly help the golf course to stay a golf course is to update the facility, update the course. You know, and I think that if we don't give it that chance and we don't try, again, we're not going to know. But to go in and just slate it as we're not going to keep it as a golf course, or we want to do something completely different without working a little more closely with them and giving them the opportunity. Because like I said, in the last 2 weeks, they have made some really good progress. I'm impressed with the steps that they've taken. They've got some great ideas. You know, they want it to succeed just like you guys do. And I think that the problem is, you know, again, golf courses are starting to go the way of the world, but there's still a love for it here in this community. There are still people that come to play here. You know, last summer I was at Mountain View Restaurant, and there was a family from Texas that had just got done playing on the golf course and had gone to Mountain View Restaurant to eat. So again, even though it's not a big niche that serves it, what is a big niche in Monte Vista that serves the entire community?
Well, that's right. And what Ken stood right up there and said, it's about communicating. And if we just pitch this out there, we're not communicating. What you just said is communicating. Let's combine it, work it together, instead of continually beating this dog, dead dog, might I say. Let's go ahead and communicate with the golf course, with the questions. Maybe you have to tweak them a little bit for everybody to be happy, and then send a poll out. But he's right. Right there is where it's at, because that's one thing this damn COVID thing, and forgive me because I get really frustrated about this, has changed a lot of people. When 9/11 happened, this country came together. When this happened, people turned against each other. And it's pathetically sad to me that people have turned against each other instead of helpful. So what I see here is the communication that needs to be had. So you can take your notes to the board meeting, and you guys can discuss it there, make a poll, and then we can get together and send it out. That's what I think.
I guess I'm confused. You are describing this like it's saying do we want to dump the golf course?
Well, I think
I don't
getting-
see that in here. I'm seeing, what I see in here
I think given the discussions, you have to take it as a whole, given the discussions that we've had in the past, they're gonna read it that way. They are on, I will tell you right now, the golf course is on the defense right now.
They're at least gonna read it as if we're trying to take it away from them. Even if we're gonna keep it a golf course, we're not gonna leave it with them, and that's not the agreement that we came up with.
If I was on a golf board, I'd want to know this information. Anyhow,
If
but
I were
and,
on the golf course, I would want to know that when I'm being discussed, I'm in the room.
well, let's take it to them. They hear.
I will be
I don't have
happy
a
to
problem
take
with
it
that
to
at
them
all.
Monday night. I
Okay.
will gladly take the survey to them and get their feel for it and see what
Sure.
they think of it as a whole. And I, like I said, if you leave it out there and let them hand it out to their patrons, that's getting their input as well. That's ensuring that the patrons of the golf course have their voice.
Sure.
No, it's, almost impossible to keep people from stacking a ballot box. I understand that. And that's something that we may work on in terms of, I was hoping to work on with IT in terms of putting a unique thing on the survey so that you can't answer it online, 15 times. But
They're probably pretty aware of how to work that.
I would think IT would work it out,
Yeah.
yes, but as I said, that's something I would like to do. I have no problem getting golf boards feedback on it before we send it out.
I'll take it to them Monday night.
Yeah, and as I said, we're just trying to get some hard data to determine what the level of interest is in the community. Because I think that, that's who we're here to represent.
That sounds fair to me. Gary, do you have anything?
No, not,
Not regards to.
oh, don't get.
Not regards to the golf
The golf course is an asset. We got a lot of assets here, not the least of which is our traffic count through town. And from what I've heard tonight, I just think I want to say that I like what Ken had to say about the chamber and some of the things that are going on and how I was with the chamber for a while and not a lot happening, but for some reason, maybe because of the guy out there, things are, well, and Jerry had a big effect on it. Jerry did a phenomenal job, but there's just a lot of things going on in the community in the midst of this, whatever you want to call it, that are very positive, and I've heard a lot of that tonight. I really have. So it's, I'm encouraged. Even the police report was good. I mean, things were. It's just a good sign, and I'm always got an ear for that. I'm always looking for something positive, and I heard a lot of positive tonight, so I'm encouraged.
Good deal. Well, I'll reiterate again, 9/11 brought this country together, and this COVID thing is not. It's torn communities apart, torn families apart. It's changed this country, and it's changed it for our youth as well as us. And we need to come back to that mentality of thinking we are here as a community, be it Monte Vista, Alamosa, wherever in the San Luis Valley. We are a community. I spent the weekend in the mountains, met a lot of people from Texas, Florida, and they're living life. Of course, they're retired folks. Almost said some I've been ashamed of. Sorry, Margot. And it was great to see you, by the way. We need to change that. And it's us that are going to have to change it. Because it's, like I said, it's sad to me to think that this is what it's coming to. I just got a text, whether it's official or not. George, you might have got it. Protesters in Alamosa, supposedly somebody got shot over there tonight.
I confirm that is correct.
Okay? In Alamosa, Colorado, you got protesters and they shot somebody in Alamosa. Now what's this going on here? And here we are arguing about the golf course and the question here. Communicate, and take care of each other. in small town Alamosa. It's ridiculous. So we're 17 miles away, folks. This community needs to come together. I understand they have their rights to do what they do, but enough is enough.
Exactly.
So that's all I have to say, and we need to go into executive session, folks.
Yeah, we adjourn to executive session.
So he has to read his thing up here to this right.
We'll just, Mr. Mayor, we'll just sit here, when you make your motion, you'll notify the public that the council will only come back into session to adjourn. No further action will be taken, and we can just go to the room and have our, executive session.
We're gonna have a short recess before we go.
Oh, well, I appreciate
I move we go into executive session for our conference with the city town attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS sections 2-4-402, subsection 4B.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we adjourn into executive session. We, council will come back in to regular session to adjourn the meeting. So.
Thank
Thank you guys.